On January 7, 2025, South Korea's political landscape continues to be impacted by the tumultuous events surrounding President Yoon Suk-yeol's controversial declaration of martial law and subsequent impeachment. This report summarizes the sequence of events and their implications for domestic politics and regional security. Event Overview. In early December 2023, President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law, citing threats from North Korea and internal challenges posed by the opposition-controlled National Assembly. This declaration, made on December 3, aimed to curb political activities and secure the executive branch's authority. However, the swift backlash from the National Assembly, which voted against the martial law declaration hours later, underscored the resilience of democratic institutions in South Korea. Within hours, the military units dispatched to enforce the martial law withdrew, marking a significant moment of defiance against Yoon's administration. Key timeline. 1. December 3, 2023, Yoon Suk-yeol announced martial law, claiming it was necessary to protect the nation from external and internal threats. This declaration included measures to restrict political activities. 2. December 3, 2023, the National Assembly convened rapidly in response, with many lawmakers, including members of Yoon's own party, voting to reject the martial law. The military complied with the Assembly's decision and stood down. 3. December 14, 2023, the National Assembly voted to impeach Yoon Suk-yeol, suspending his presidential powers due to allegations of power abuse and inciting an insurrection during the martial law attempt. 4. December 22, 2023, a failed attempt by police to arrest Yoon occurred, marked by a standoff outside his residence where hundreds of his supporters gathered to prevent law enforcement from executing the arrest warrant. 5. January 2024, ongoing investigations and political tensions continued, with Yoon's legal team contesting the validity of the arrest warrant and the impeachment proceedings. Arrest attempts and political fallout. The police's attempt to arrest Yoon highlighted the deep divisions within South Korean society. Despite the legal challenges he faced, Yoon maintained a substantial base of support which rallied outside his residence during the police operation. The standoff, described as unprecedented in South Korean politics, raised questions about the balance of power between the presidency and legislative authority. As the situation unfolded, the Constitutional Court's eventual ruling on Yoon's impeachment became a focal point of national attention. The court's decision would not only determine Yoon's political future but also set important precedents regarding presidential powers and the limits of executive authority in South Korea. Constitutional and legal implications. The declaration of martial law and its subsequent rejection by the National Assembly ignited a debate over the constitutionality of such measures. Legal experts emphasized that while the president holds the authority to declare martial law, it must be justified with sufficient evidence of a national emergency. Critics argued that Yoon's actions undermined democratic principles and set a dangerous precedent for future administrations. The impeachment process and the ongoing investigations brought to light broader issues regarding accountability in government. The landscape of South Korean politics has been characterized by a struggle between the ruling party and opposition forces, with significant implications for the future of governance in the country. Regional security concerns. The political turmoil within South Korea also reverberated throughout the region, particularly in the context of relations with North Korea, China, and the United States. As Yoon's administration grappled with internal dissent, regional actors closely monitored the developments. The potential for a shift in South Korea's foreign policy direction remained uncertain, especially with the upcoming presidential elections looming on the horizon. Experts noted that a change in administration could alter South Korea's alignment with international allies, particularly regarding security cooperation and stance on North Korean provocations. The implications for Taiwan and the broader Indo-Pacific region were also significant, as South Korea's strategic position became increasingly precarious amidst shifting geopolitical dynamics. Conclusion. The events surrounding Yoon Suk-yeol's martial law declaration and subsequent impeachment have led to a critical juncture in South Korean politics. The ongoing legal challenges and political divisions underscore the resilience of democratic institutions while raising pressing questions about the future of governance in the country. As the situation continues to develop, the implications for regional security and international relations will warrant close attention in the coming months. The political situation surrounding South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has unfolded in a manner that reveals several counterintuitive elements. Below are key points that highlight these paradoxical aspects of the ongoing crisis. 1. Martial law as a constitutional right. While it may seem counterintuitive that a president would invoke martial law to address political challenges, Yoon's actions are framed within the context of his constitutional rights. Legally, a president can declare martial law under certain conditions, which raises questions about the boundaries of executive power and the legitimacy of such declarations in a democratic context. The very act of claiming a constitutional right to impose martial law can undermine the principles of democracy, suggesting that legal authority can be misused for political ends. 2. Immediate backfire. Yoon's attempt to impose martial law was quickly met with resistance, leading to a rapid retraction of the declaration. This suggests a disconnection between his expectations and the actual political reality. The expectation that martial law would consolidate power instead led to a swift parliamentary response that not only rejected his authority but also initiated impeachment proceedings against him. This counterintuitive outcome illustrates how overreaching can provoke a stronger backlash than anticipated. 3. Support and opposition dynamics. Yoon's declaration galvanized both support and opposition in ways that were perhaps unforeseen. While he aimed to rally support against perceived threats from North Korea, the backlash from the opposition was equally fervent, indicating that his actions alienated moderates and intensified divisions within the political landscape. The paradox lies in the idea that attempts to consolidate power through extreme measures can often lead to greater fragmentation and opposition. For public perception and political capital, the situation has revealed how public perception can sharply diverge from political strategy. Yoon's actions were intended to project strength and decisiveness, however, they led to widespread protests and a decline in his popularity. The irony here is that a leader may attempt to strengthen their position through authoritarian measures only to find that such moves erode their political capital and public support. 5. Legal loopholes and political maneuvering. Yoon's legal background as a former prosecutor has allowed him to navigate the political turmoil with a degree of strategic awareness. This creates a counterintuitive scenario where a leader equipped with legal knowledge may exploit the very system designed to check power. His refusal to comply with summonses for questioning further complicates the narrative, as it illustrates the tension between legal accountability and the assertion of presidential authority. 6. Impact on regional dynamics. The implications of Yoon's actions extend beyond domestic politics to regional security issues, particularly concerning North Korea and the U.S.-South Korea alliance. While one might expect that a strongman approach would enhance national security, the fallout from his martial law declaration has the potential to destabilize alliances and embolden adversaries. The paradox here lies in the idea that actions intended to bolster national security can inadvertently weaken it. 7. The role of the opposition. The opposition's quick mobilization against Yoon's declaration and subsequent impeachment proceedings highlight the unpredictability of political dynamics. Rather than being cowed into submission, the opposition capitalized on Yoon's miscalculation, showcasing how authoritarian gestures can invigorate democratic processes and lead to a resurgence of political activism. 8. Transition of power. The transition from Yoon's presidency to acting leadership has been characterized by its unprecedented nature, with two acting presidents in a short span. This unusual situation reflects a deeper crisis of legitimacy, where the very mechanisms of democratic governance are called into question. The counterintuitive element here is the idea that instability at the top can lead to a more engaged and responsive political environment as citizens and lawmakers alike react to perceived threats to democracy. In summary, the developments surrounding Yoon Suk-yeol's presidency illustrate a range of counterintuitive dynamics, from the misuse of legal authority to the unexpected mobilization of opposition forces. These elements underscore the complex interplay between power, legality, and public sentiment in a democratic society facing crises of governance. The report on the political turmoil surrounding South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol provides a critical examination of the implications of his martial law declaration impeachment and the subsequent political fallout. While much has been discussed regarding the immediate events, several significant aspects are often overlooked. This analysis will highlight these contents and elucidate their importance. 1. The nature of the martial law declaration. One of the key elements that may be overlooked is the manner in which Yoon Suk-yeol justified his martial law declaration. He framed it as a necessary response to perceived threats from North Korea and opposition forces undermining the government. This justification raises significant questions about the thresholds for declaring martial law in a democratic society. The implications of this justification extend beyond Yoon's presidency. They set a precedent for future leaders regarding the interpretation of national security and the potential for overreach in times of political strife. Significance: this precedent could normalize the use of extreme measures by future presidents facing political challenges undermining democratic norms and civil liberties. It may also embolden authoritarian tendencies in the political landscape, indicating that leaders can circumvent democratic processes under the guise of national security. 2. Historical context of presidential powers in South Korea. Another critical aspect that tends to be overlooked is the historical context of presidential powers in South Korea, particularly in relation to martial law. South Korea has a tumultuous history, with authoritarianism having experienced several military dictatorships before transitioning to democracy. Understanding this background is essential to grasp the gravity of Yoon's actions. Significance: the historical trauma associated with martial law in South Korea amplifies the concerns raised by Yoon's declaration. It serves as a reminder of the fragility of democratic institutions and the potential regression into authoritarian rule. This context is crucial for citizens and political actors to understand the stakes involved in the current political crisis. 3. Public reaction and political polarization. The polarized public response to Yoon's actions, including the large gatherings of supporters and opponents outside his residence during the attempted arrest, highlights a deep societal divide. Many supporters view Yoon as a defender of national security, while opponents see him as a threat to democracy. This polarization is symptomatic of broader trends in many democracies where political affiliation increasingly correlates with identity. Significance: the intense public sentiment underscores the potential for civil unrest and destabilization, which can further complicate governance and democratic processes. It highlights the risks of divisive politics, where leaders exploit societal fears for political gain, leading to escalation rather than resolution. 4. Impact on regional security dynamics. The implications of Yoon's actions extend beyond domestic politics to regional security, particularly regarding North Korea and the broader geopolitical landscape in East Asia. The potential for increased tensions with North Korea and the shifting dynamics of South Korea's alliances are significant outcomes that may not receive adequate attention. Significance: the regional security implications are profound, as they could impact South Korea's relationships with both the United States and China. Yoon's administration had previously taken a more confrontational stance toward North Korea, and any instability may lead to recalibrations in security alliances that could affect regional stability. This aspect is critical for understanding how domestic political crises can reverberate through international relations. 5. Legal and constitutional ramifications. The legal challenges surrounding Yoon's martial law declaration and impeachment process are significant yet often overlooked. Legal scholars and experts debate the constitutionality of his actions, particularly regarding the balance of power between the executive and legislative branches. The ongoing investigations and potential legal precedents that arise from this situation could have lasting effects on South Korean law and governance. Significance: the legal ramifications highlight the importance of checks and balances in a democracy. As the Constitutional Court deliberates on Yoon's impeachment and the legitimacy of his actions, the outcomes will shape future interpretations of executive authority and accountability. This process is crucial for maintaining the rule of law and could either reinforce or undermine public trust in democratic institutions. 6. Long-term political consequences for the ruling party. The ruling People Power Party (PPP) and its future are also critical components of this situation that may not be fully appreciated. Yoon's controversial actions and the subsequent backlash may lead to significant shifts within the party, including potential leadership challenges and realignments. Significance: the internal dynamics of the PPP could determine its viability in the next elections and its ability to govern effectively. A fracturing party may struggle to maintain its base and could lead to a resurgence of opposition forces reshaping the political landscape for years to come. This presents challenges not only for the party but for South Korea's overall political stability. Conclusion: the political crisis surrounding President Yoon Suk-yeol is multifaceted and carries significant implications that extend beyond the immediate actions taken. The historical context of martial law, public polarization, regional security dynamics, legal ramifications, and the future of the ruling party are critical elements that merit closer examination. These aspects are vital for understanding the broader consequences of Yoon's presidency and the ongoing challenges facing South Korean democracy. Failure to recognize these dimensions may lead to an incomplete understanding of the political landscape and the potential trajectory of South Korea's democratic institutions. 1. Legal and constitutional implications of martial law. The declaration of martial law by President Yoon Suk-yeol and its subsequent rejection by the National Assembly raises critical questions regarding the constitutionality of such actions. Legal experts emphasize that while the president may have the authority to impose martial law under specific circumstances, this power must be justified with adequate rationale. The debate centers on the boundaries of presidential authority and the potential overreach that could undermine democratic governance. The events highlight the need for clear legal frameworks governing emergencies and the balance of power between the executive and legislative branches in South Korea. 2. Political turmoil and impeachment dynamics. Yoon's attempt to impose martial law has ignited a political crisis leading to his impeachment by an opposition-dominated parliament. This situation showcases the deepening schisms within South Korean politics, exacerbating tensions between pro-Yoon supporters and opposition parties. The impeachment process itself, along with the unprecedented nature of trying to arrest a sitting president, reflects the fragility of political stability in the country. The dynamics of this turmoil could reshape party affiliations and influence future elections, as the public's response to Yoon's actions may either bolster or weaken the positions of both the ruling People Power Party and the Democratic Party of Korea. 3. Impact on regional security and foreign policy. The implications of Yoon's martial law declaration extend beyond domestic politics, affecting South Korea's foreign relations and regional security dynamics. The political chaos may hinder South Korea's ability to engage effectively with key allies like the United States and Japan, particularly in the context of North Korean threats and the geopolitical landscape involving China and Taiwan. The situation poses challenges for future administrations in defining South Korea's foreign policy stance, especially in balancing relations with major powers in the region while asserting its democratic values. 4. Public sentiment and democratic values. Yoon's actions have polarized public opinion. with supporters framing his martial law attempt as a necessary response to perceived threats while opponents view it as an authoritarian overreach that jeopardizes democratic values. The societal debate surrounding this issue underscores the tension between national security and civil liberties in South Korea. As the political landscape evolves, the public's perception of democracy, governance, and accountability will play a crucial role in shaping the country's future trajectory, including its approach to crises and the safeguarding of democratic principles. 1. The impeachment of Andrew Johnson, 1868. Following the American Civil War, President Andrew Johnson faced intense opposition from Congress, particularly for his lenient policies towards the southern states and his violation of the Tenure of Office Act. In 1868, the House of Representatives voted to impeach Johnson, who was accused of high crimes and misdemeanors. The Senate trial resulted in Johnson's acquittal by just one vote. But it set a precedent for presidential accountability and the limits of executive power. 2. The martial law in the Philippines under Ferdinand Marcos, 1972–1981. President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law in the Philippines in 1972, citing the need to suppress communist insurgency and restore order. This period was marked by human rights abuses, suppression of dissent, and the consolidation of power by Marcos. The martial law declaration was initially supported by some sectors of society but led to widespread protests and eventual ousting of Marcos in 1986 following the People Power Revolution, illustrating the dangers of unchecked presidential power. 3. The October Surprise Controversy, 1980. In the lead-up to the 1980 U.S. presidential election, accusations arose that the Reagan campaign had negotiated with Iran to delay the release of American hostages held since the 1979 Iranian Revolution, in order to undermine President Jimmy Carter's re-election bid. While investigations did not conclusively prove these allegations, the controversy raised questions about the ethical boundaries of political maneuvering and the extent to which presidential candidates might engage in actions that could impact national security for electoral gain. The political landscape in South Korea is poised for significant transformation following the tumultuous events surrounding President Yoon Suk-yeol's declaration of martial law and subsequent impeachment proceedings. As of January 2025, the implications of these developments extend beyond domestic politics, affecting regional security dynamics and the future of democratic governance in South Korea. Here are some predictions for the future outlook. 1. Political turbulence and leadership changes. The ongoing political crisis is likely to lead to further instability in South Korea's leadership, with Yoon Suk-yeol facing impeachment and potential legal consequences. The role of acting presidents may become a recurring theme. This period could see shifts in political alliances and the emergence of new leadership within both the ruling People Power Party and the opposition Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, buoyed by Yoon's unpopularity, may strengthen its position, potentially leading to a resurgence of left-leaning policies. 2. Legal and constitutional challenges. The Constitutional Court's impending decision on Yoon's impeachment will be pivotal. If the court upholds the impeachment, it may establish a precedent limiting presidential powers and enhancing checks and balances in South Korea's political system. Conversely, a ruling in favor of Yoon could embolden future administrations to assert more authoritarian measures under the guise of national security. 3. Impact on democratic norms. Yoon's martial law declaration has raised alarms about the health of democracy in South Korea. The backlash against perceived overreach may catalyze a broad-based movement advocating for democratic reforms. Civil society organizations could become more active in pushing for greater transparency, accountability, and the protection of civil liberties. This could lead to a more resilient democratic framework, albeit amidst ongoing tensions. 4. Regional security implications. The political turmoil in South Korea is likely to alter regional security dynamics, especially concerning North Korea and relations with the United States. If a new administration emerges that leans towards a more conciliatory approach towards Pyongyang, it could lead to a shift in security strategies in Northeast Asia. Conversely, a hardline stance could exacerbate tensions. Additionally, the evolving political landscape may hinder South Korea's role in multilateral security arrangements involving Taiwan and Japan. 5. Shifts in foreign policy. Yoon's challenges have potential ramifications for South Korea's foreign policy orientation. Should the Democratic Party regain power, it may advocate for a recalibration of relations with China and a more cautious approach towards the U.S. alliance, focusing on reducing military tensions and prioritizing economic relations. This could lead to a more nuanced stance regarding North Korea, balancing deterrence with diplomacy. 6. Economic repercussions. The political instability could have negative implications for South Korea's economy. Investor confidence may wane amid uncertainty affecting markets and foreign investment. Economic policies could be impacted by the political shift, with potential focus areas including technological innovation, trade relations, and economic recovery strategies post-COVID-19. 7. Public sentiment and activism. Public sentiment is likely to remain polarized in the wake of Yoon's actions. Opposition parties could capitalize on discontent to mobilize grassroots movements advocating for political accountability and reform. This could lead to increased civic engagement and a more active role for citizens in shaping the political discourse, fostering a culture of activism that might reshape future elections. 8. Geopolitical realignments. The fallout from Yoon's controversial decisions could lead to geopolitical realignments in Northeast Asia. South Korea's relationships with its neighbors may undergo scrutiny, particularly regarding its role in the U.S.-led security architecture in the region. As Taiwan faces its own challenges, the necessity for solidarity among democratic nations could lead to new partnerships, but Yoon's mishandling may complicate South Korea's involvement in these alliances. Conclusion. In summary, the future of South Korea is at a crossroads, and the outcomes of the current political crisis will have long-lasting implications. As the nation navigates through its challenges, the interplay between domestic politics, public sentiment, regional security, and international relations will shape the trajectory of South Korea's democratic development and its role on the global stage. The coming months will be critical in determining whether South Korea can emerge from this turbulence with a strengthened democratic ethos, or whether it will succumb to a cycle of instability and authoritarianism.